What's up, everybody? Welcome to Among the Fence. My name is Aaron. Today we're checking out the new album Hymns In Dissonance by the deathcore band Whitechapel. This is the ninth studio album from the pioneering deathcore band. They were founded in 2006, back in the days of MySpace deathcore. And a lot of bands from that era have either broken up or they fell off in terms of popularity or even quality music. They're just not making music quite as good as they used to. But I would say that Whitechapel has always managed to stay fairly consistent or even gotten better as time went on. They started out being purely deathcore, but they slowly added a little bit of progressive stuff in there as time went on. But their softcore album, This Is Exile, which came out in 2008, is considered by many to be one of the best deathcore albums, at least of the early 2000s. And a lot of people actually gave up on this band after their follow-up album, A New Era of Corruption, which I would say is, it's really close. I would say it's probably just as good as This Is Exile. It's just since it came out second, it's not held to such a high standard as This Is Exile, but their self-titled album and of course Our Endless War are kind of viewed as being a little corny, I guess you could say. Even their 2016 release, Mark of the Blade, wasn't really considered to be all that great, at least in my eyes. And I wouldn't say any of these albums are necessarily bad or any of them suck. I would just say that they kind of lost their special oomph that they had when they first started out. However, in 2019, they released The Valley and absolutely killed it. And like I said, I don't really view any of their albums as being necessarily bad. There was just a dip in terms of quality of mostly songwriting, if we're going to be honest. But I would say like even their worst albums are pretty decent. I mean, they're listenable, but The Valley, it brought this band back to life. It revived them. Lyrically, it's super deep and emotional and dives into stuff that is just, it tears your heart out and it does not hold back whatsoever. But most importantly, I feel like they really did a good job of blending prog and deathcore just in a way that nobody else was doing at the time, at least. And Phil's vocals were insane, especially his clean singing, which seemed to come out of nowhere and was completely unexpected. And the production on The Valley, I feel like to this day is the best production that they've ever had. And then they followed this album up with Kin, which a lot of fans consider to be also a masterpiece. And I agree, but I do struggle a little bit, mainly because it does have some Tool qualities, mostly in the drums and the clean vocals and just honestly just the atmosphere. It has that kind of quality to it, which is not a bad thing, and it is few and far in between. But I just listened to Tool way too much in high school. So when I was listening to Ken, it was just a little rough, not gonna lie. But I still recognize just how fantastic this album was. And again, it dives really deep into very personal stuff that Phil went through as a child and is still going through and still struggling with. And it made me excited for the direction they were going in and what was going to come next, which honestly, it felt like an eternity between Ken and Hymns In Dissonance. Hymns In Dissonance opens with the song Prisoner 666, which is the protagonist of this album. And whenever I refer to them, just to keep it simple, I'm just going to call them 666 to make it easy. I love the haunting intro. It builds up into a nostalgic deathcore verse. It's super brutal, and it just reminded me how good this band is and how just heavy they were back in the day. And after I listened to this song, I actually went back to listen to some of their older stuff just to kind of compare it. And it is so similar, but you could just hear how smoothed out their playing has become. It's amazing. The chorus is super catchy, and I love the harmony that hangs out in the background, and I enjoyed the vocals that are super aggressive all throughout, and the guitar solo was unexpected, but most importantly, the drums. There is no adjective I could say just to really express how brilliant the drum work is on this song, and it really sets it up for the entire album because they kill it all the way through. And then we have the title track, Hymns In Dissonance, which keeps that brutality going, and it brings, again, an old school deathcore kind of vibe to it. The verses are super duper heavy. Phil's vocals are right in your face. I feel like it's kind of more the mix than the actual music hanging back than anything else. And again, the drums steal the show. The chorus has a really cool melody, and the breakdown and the bridge rip your face right off. The outro to me is one of the best moments on this entire album, but the heavy atmosphere that this whole thing brings along with it is phenomenal. Diabolical Slumber is a straight up 4.5 minute long death metal song, with the first minute in the intro being an instrumental with a really great sounding melody and drum work that sounds really theatrical. The vocals and the groove in the verse are super addicting, and this song keeps evolving in a way that reminds me of Job for a Cowboy, specifically when that band was transitioning from deathcore to being more just straight up death metal. And this song was really hard for me to review because I enjoyed it so much. It's one of my favorite songs that this band has written in a long time. Every time I would sit down to review this album, I'd make it to the end of the song and have a oh crap kind of moment because I didn't take any notes writing it down or mentally, so I had to go back and unfortunately listen to it again. But yeah, I enjoy this song so much, easily my favorite on the album. And then we have one of the first singles for this album, A Visceral Wretch, which has a throwback feel to their debut album in terms of songwriting, and it's about the protagonist 666 seeing just what disturbing things people are willing to do to kind of test their loyalty to him and his mission, and taking over the world and kind of ridding the world of everything good in it. It's a great first single as it shows just how dark and heavy this album is going to be, because I feel like it's one of the darker songs on the album. The verse has really nice gnarly vocals, and the chorus just is a slightly, just step up. It's just slightly more powerful, but the breakdown in verse 2 are fantastically groovy. I know a lot of people didn't enjoy this song that much as a single, but hearing it in the context of the whole album is so good. And the fact that the last like half of this song is some of the best deathcore that there is. It's so freaking good. Then we have Ex Infernus, which is a transitional instrumental song that focuses on tribal drums, and it goes straight into the song Hate Cult Ritual, which is very fitting. Honestly, I didn't really care for this song all that much, at least the first time I heard it. It's a little bit more theatrical. It's very drum forward. I don't know, the refrain was just a little too repetitive to me, but again, it's a ritual that 666 is currently doing, and they're basically purging the planet. The performances throughout all the instruments are fantastic. I wouldn't even really call this song skippable, at least like as it was growing on me. It's just, I don't know, it wasn't very memorable to me, and the only things I remember to was just how it was very, very repetitive, but it becomes heavy in a sneaky way. So it does kind of have a slow build to it. I don't know. This song, I know it's going to be a lot of people's favorites, and I really tried to make it one of mine as well, and it just wasn't really there for me. The Abysmal Gospel has one of the simplest and gnarliest riffs in the intro. The chorus is super quick, as this song represents pride, as 666 and his cult have currently purged the earth of all goodness, and now he sees himself as being a god. And outside of the riff, the songwriting is pretty just straight up deathcore, but the lead melody at the end of verse 2 is absolutely sick. Then we have the song Bedlam, which is very much in your face. The songwriting in this makes you want to go back and listen to it over and over again. This one touches on envy, and 666, he does some stuff that I'm not going to talk about to his brother's dead body, but his consciousness is still present within his body, so he can still feel all the pain and stuff that's happening. And 666 is kind of just doing it for the sake of being able to do it, and his brother feels envious that, you know, he's dead. I don't know. It's a really rough song, honestly. Both the music and the lyrics are just unrelenting, but at the same time, again, super dark, super heavy, and yeah, you could go back and listen to this one multiple times because it's just that good. And then we have the song Mammoth God, which is very atmospheric, but it's still super chunky. I like the snarly vocals that are in the chorus, which is kind of a nice change of pace. Normally it's the other way around, where it gets heavier in the chorus. The verses have a really strong nostalgic feel to them, and the story takes a turn as 666 views himself as a god killer, but he also sees himself as a god. So he turns on himself is the best way I can phrase that. I suppose that's YouTube friendly. He kind of has let the power get to his head, and he also has an offspring coming, so he's kind of setting up the way for his offspring to take over. And that brings us to the closing track. Nothing is coming for any of us. It starts out with a very, very strong Van Halen sounding riff in the intro, at least to me. I mean, it sounded like something that Van Halen would have written, at least if he was around today writing deathcore music. The verses are super aggressive, and the first breakdown comes out of nowhere and just slaps you in the face. It expresses helplessness in this world after 666 has pursued and killed off all of the goodness, and now his offspring is rising up. The guitar solo is perfect in just about every way, which is really weird for me to say because I don't care for guitar solos, specifically in deathcore and metalcore, but it sounded fantastic. And overall, this is a great sounding closing track that closes up the theme of this album and just the overall sounds that we've been hearing. I absolutely love this album, and it's really hard for me not to be biased because deathcore is pretty much my favorite genre outside of like post-hardcore. But this album, it's a perfect deathcore album. It does have its flaws though. The songs can become a little repetitive to a degree. I mean, sure, you don't really know what's going to come next because Whitechapel could do so many things. But once you get the gist of what this album's doing, you pretty much get it. Sometimes because of that, it can feel a little repetitive. It is a far cry from Kin and the Valley, but it's Whitechapel. They could do progressive stuff and they could do just straight up deathcore, and it's still just the most brilliant thing you've ever heard. The production, the riffs, the vocals, the drum work is all stellar. To me, I mean, everything kind of stood out a lot. The drums and the vocals though, that's what just really, it wowed me more than anything else. I mean, Phil's vocals always surprise me just how good he is. Even though I know he's like top 3 deathcore vocalist, every time I hear him, I'm blown away. And same with the drums. I mean, some people might not like this because he's kind of veered away from the themes of the Valley and Kin in terms of, you know, like no super deep thought-provoking lyrics. There's no like super deep self-reflections, and the clean singing is completely gone. But this is still Whitechapel coming back and doing deathcore pretty much better than anybody else after they've been around for 20 years. So yeah, I gotta give Hymns in Dissonance by Whitechapel an 8.2 out of 10. But I want to know what you guys think. I have a feeling most people are probably gonna love this album, especially if you're a fan of Whitechapel, even though it is, like I said, quite a bit different than what we're used to on the past 2 albums. So leave a comment below letting me know what you thought of Hymns in Dissonance. Let me know what you would rate it and what your favorite song is. Also, if you enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a like. Helps us so much with YouTube's algorithm. And if you want to support me further than that, you don't want to miss out on any of my future reviews or New Music Friday, feel free to subscribe and ring the bell icon. That way you get notifications and my videos will pop up in your recommended section and all that good stuff. And I just want to thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to listen to me sit here and talk about music. And I hope you have a good rest of your day or night, whenever you happen to be watching this. And I will talk to you guys next time.